it shows about 80% of men have openly admitted that they've had problems with this. It's about 450 million people or men that are saying that they've struggled with this. I would venture to say that we're probably in the higher 90% range of men that struggle with this. What are we talking about, Nate? Why do you keep saying it? Hey, welcome back to Faithfully Unfinished. This topic is something that most people will not even touch. Before I talk about what it actually is, I want you to please understand that I am not here to judge you or to shame you. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm going to show you exactly what this does to your brain, to your soul, to your marriage, and then hopefully I can give you a few things to show you the way out. Before I really get started, I want to tell you that there's about 8 billion people on this earth, approximately. And what I did not realize for the longest time is that this was actually something that will completely destroy you if you're not careful. But it shows about 80% of men have openly admitted that they've had problems with this. Also, it looks like there's that. So if you like do all the numbers and the math, right, that's about 450 million people or men that are saying that they've struggled with this, like openly have said that they have struggled with this. So it's about 80%. I would venture to say that we're probably in the higher 90% range of men that struggle with this. What are we talking about, Nate? Why do you keep saying it? Just say it. Adult content, right? I got to be very careful how I talk about this, what I say. I don't want this video to get taken down because it is super important for you to understand. And to hopefully give you a way forward. What nobody's ever told us is when you watch the adult content where your brain is starting to release some dopamine, and that's your reward chemical. As far as when you eat good food or when you win something or when something feels good, right? The normal stuff. But what it doesn't give you is a normal hit. So research out of Cambridge University found the same reward circuits lighten up in that addiction at the same as in cocaine and heroin. Um, as somebody would be addicted to those things, right? The same circuits. We're talking a dopamine flood 4 to 6 times higher than normal. And our brains were never built to handle that. So our brain basically does what brains do, it adapts. So what happens is it reduces our dopamine receptors, which means the same content stop working. You need more of it, more often, more extreme, and I know that sounds like a terrible thing, and it's probably making a lot of people very uncomfortable right now, but it's just a real thing. Again, I'm not here to shame you, right? I struggled with this myself. That's your brain basically trying to survive, and that's the trap. This is the part that nobody really explains to us, and why we can't just like put a halt to it, stop. So the part of your brain that handles impulse control and decision making, your values, basically is your prefrontal cortex. Well, if you're watching adult content, well, it basically weakens your prefrontal cortex. So it completely goes offline. And that's why a man can be on his knees on Sunday begging God to help him stop and be right back at it the next day. It's not a willpower issue. So every time you consume it, you are rewiring your brain and you're building a pathway that runs straight from stress or boredom or loneliness or whatever, just name it. Well, you're going straight to the screen. Then comes the crash, obviously. The dopamine drops, the shame floods in. And what do we mostly do when we have shame? Well, we numb it. Well, that could be anything. We could do it with alcohol. We could do it with drugs. We can do it by going back to it. Then we get into the cycle. And that's why it feels impossible to break. Studies show after 90 days of abstinence, dopamine receptors do recover. So basically, what that means is the prefrontal cortex regains function, and the brain that built the trap can find a way out. This is where we get a little deeper. Okay. Whether you're a man of faith or not, I need you to truly hear this. All right. God designed intimacy as a full giving of yourself to one person, not a transaction, not a performance, a real vulnerable covenant connection. So adult content is basically a counterfeit of that, right? You get pleasure without presence. You get sensation without sacrifice. And that becomes the image of intimacy without any of the risk of being actually known. I believe with everything in me, and you can go back and read the book that I was telling you about not long ago. It's called Outwitting the Devil. It talks about being a drifter. This is very powerful. So the enemy doesn't need to destroy you. He just needs to keep you satisfied with something. In this case, something fake. So a man who is sedated by a screen at 11 p.m. is not a man who is pursuing his wife, his family, his career, his purpose, not walking out his calling. He is neutralized. And a neutralized man is not dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. But what I've learned is that adult content is almost never really about sexual intimacy. It's about escape. It's a man in pain reaching for the fastest exit he knows, like stress, loneliness, feeling like he's not enough. So it gives him a 10-minute answer, but it ain't a real one. So the real question underneath is always, am I enough? Or does anyone actually see me? Or is there more to my life than this? If you go into the good book in Romans 12:2, it says, do not conform to the patterns of this world. Remember the patterns, right? But be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And this is not just spiritual language, right? This is neuroscience. The mind has to be renewed to rewire. You do not manage your way out of this from the outside. You have to transform from the inside out. This is super important. This goes back to my leadership style blueprint, which I hadn't mentioned that yet. That's coming out. Here's what it does to your marriage. Now, this is important. Ladies, I need you to hear me on this one. Please do not go to your man, to your husband, and start belittling him. If anything, you need to understand the spiritual side of it. This is more spiritual than anything. You do not wrestle with flesh and blood. Remember, I said that. Adult content disconnects you from your marriage emotionally. When you have an easy dopamine source, the hard work of real intimacy, showing up fully, being vulnerable, actually pursuing her or him, well, that starts to feel like too much. And you start to drift. Remember, drift, the drifter. And she or he feels it even if they can't name it. So it rewires your expectations. And this content is produced, it's all scripted and optimized. It's not real. But the brain doesn't know that. So over time, real intimacy can't compete with the fantasy your brain has been trained to respond to. And when your spouse finds out, most do eventually, that's just a matter of time. That can go with anything as well. Research shows they'll experience something close to a fair level trauma, and they'll start asking themselves, was I not enough? How long? What else don't I know? That wound is very real and it takes real work to heal. And I don't think I have to really say this, but couples where one partner is using, right, are twice as likely for divorce. But I also want to say this very clearly, because this one's important as well. I've seen marriages come back from this. I've seen marriages where this was the culprit and led to other things, but I've seen marriages come back, including mine. But it takes 100% truth, not a partial story. But I'm telling you, it is possible. So here's what you actually do with all of this. Freedom from adult content is not about trying harder. You cannot willpower your way out of a rewired brain. You have to build a different life and let the different life make the counterfeit unattractive. Okay. Very important that you understand that. So, one, we want to name it out loud to yourself, to God, to that one person that you trust. Shame lives in secrecy. Whatever is hidden in the dark will eventually come out to light. So one honest conversation robs it of its own power. This is real. Please take these, write them down, get a notebook, write them down. An accountability partner, and not just any accountability partner. Please hear me on that. A real person. Don't just go to software, right? Software will block it, but relationships are going to change the soul. Three, you got to know your triggers, right? You got to map the patterns. Hey, what's the pattern? Are you bored? Are you stressed? Or is there conflict in your marriage? Is it maybe alone time? The trigger is not the enemy, right? It's the data, it's the information, it's what deals with what's underneath it. Okay. Number four, you have to build a life that fills you. So people who have a mission or physically active or connected to a community, They are far less susceptible. Emptiness is the environment addiction grows in. Remember that. Please write that down. But number 5 is you got to deal with the root pain. If there is buried trauma or anxiety underneath this, well, this is going to come back up until you address the issue. So go get help. Go find somebody. Listen, I talk about investing into yourselves all the time. If it is terrible, like really bad, and you have a problem, you need to get help. Number 6, you gotta rebuild your identity. So you are not your addiction. That's very important to understand. Behavior follows identity always. So step into who you actually are and the behavior starts to shift. That's just how it works. Number 7 is this is the most important part because you're trying to break the habit. So you can't quit after you slip, right? The enemy wants you to believe that one slip means it's completely over, and that is not the case. You gotta get back up and tell your accountability partner, start the next hour on a clean slate. So the close of it all is that you can heal, your marriage can heal, your brain can heal, right? Your soul. None of this is the end of the story, but it does start with one decision. You gotta stop hiding. You gotta get it out. You gotta find that one person and you gotta have the conversation. And I can tell you, it's changed people's lives, completely changed people's lives. So if you find anything that has helped you through this, share it. Send it to somebody who you know needs it. If you want to go deeper, I can send you this PDF if you want it. You can go back to the good book, John 8:36. So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. My name is Nate with Faithfully Unfinished. Thank you for taking the time to looking at this. This is very important. Make sure you watch it 2 or 3 times. Again, if you need more assistance or you want this PDF, all you have to do is comment, send me a message, and we'll get it to you. Other than that, I love you. Y'all take care, and we'll see you on the next one.